Hey, boys and girls, welcome back to Kids Central. We're sure excited to be with you again, but looking forward to seeing you in person this morning. And we're excited about our day, excited about what's going on. We're going to begin now with a couple of songs, so Mrs. Hughes is going to come lead us.
Hi, how is everybody? I'm so excited to see you, or for you to see me, and I'm really excited that in about an hour and a half, all our church kids, I get to see your faces. I'm so excited. That makes me happy. Well, let's do a happy song then. And I always think it's a happy song because you only get to know if you're saved if you have Jesus in your heart. But we're going to do if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. So get off the couch, get some, maybe some of you are already ready for church, or maybe you need to get ready for church. But let's sing that happy song. And again, this doesn't tell me if you're saved. This just tells me if you're happy. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, give a grin. If you're happy and you know it, give a grin. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, give a grin. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, do all four. Grin. If you're happy and you know it, do all four. Grin. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know, do all four. Grin. Oh, I hope you laughed at me. I hope you thought Mrs. Hughes was the most ridiculous human being alive. Because if you laughed at me this morning, that means your heart is happy. And I know at Central, our hearts are happy because we get to come back to church together today. And so, next song, if you look back here, you might see that our lesson today is going to be about David. So we're going to sing the David song, and some of you know it. I think most of you know it. And my contention at the beginning is different people know the same songs different ways, and I only know it my way. So if you know it different, learn it my way, or sing it your way when we're doing it. We're going to do Only a Boy Named David. So you're going to have to swing your slingshot. You're going to have to get down and pick up things out of the creek. You're going to have to be a giant that tumbles down. So give yourself some space. Don't hit your head on the coffee table. Don't run into your mom. Don't knock your grandma over. Just make sure you have some space because this is a movement song. Here we go. Only a boy named David, only a little sling. Only a boy named David, but he could pray and sing. Only a boy named David, only a rippling brook. Only a boy named David, but 5 little stones he took. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And 1 little stone went into the sling, and the sling went round and round. And round and round and round and round and round and round and round. And 1 little stone went up in the air, and the giant went tumbling down. I don't know, maybe you know it the same way I do. Maybe you didn't. I hope you liked it. And I'm excited. I love David. I just finished David in my Bible reading. He just died. And his son today built the temple to God. That's what I read today. And I just love that part of the Bible because God uses all of us some way. And now it's Brother Copeland's turn because he has some really amazing announcements.
Hello, boys and girls. Glad to be back with you again. And I've got a kind of a sad announcement, but exciting at the same time. Exciting because we're getting back in church, but sad because we'll only have this morning's video and 1 more video that we'll be posting. And so Miss Gloria is going to have to speed up the storytelling on that missionary story, isn't she? But she's going to do that. She'll get half of it finished today, and then we'll finish it up next week. And because we want everybody to know what happens to little Lee Wee and little Kim. But anyway, I want to give a shout out to a couple of folks that have been watching. And I know folks have been watching from a lot of places. But I got a special friend named Kenton who lives in Yale, Michigan, who's been watching with us, and also my nephew, Aiden Morris, over in South Fulton, Tennessee. It's good to have y'all with us and been watching ever since we began. And I know there's others. I know Miss Gloria said there's some from Indiana, and who knows where all you guys have been watching from, but we're excited to have been able to do this and excited to reach out to the boys and girls and give the Bible stories for them and the missionary lessons and the song. And remember, we've been sending out worksheets and having memory verses and all those kind of things. And we've said that we're going to give away a 5-pound chocolate bar. And I've got good news. It's here. Man, this thing is humongous. I'm having to keep it hid from Brother Charlie because he's been trying to eat it. But anyway, that's going to be given away. As a matter of fact, there are 2 people right now that are tied for that candy bar. So we're going to try some special things this week and next week to see if we can get a tiebreaker, because only one person can win that candy bar. And how many teaspoons of sugar did you say was in there?
I have it on the back of our paper right here. Tablespoons. There are 183 tablespoons of sugar.
183 tablespoons of sugar. So don't eat that candy bar all at one time. You'll have a sugar overdose. But anyway, we're excited about what's going on. And now Miss Gloria is going to come back and work with you on our memory verse today.
Oh, I told you I love David. And when Brother Copeland said he was going to talk about David's excellent spirit, wow, I was like, David had an excellent spirit. He wasn't a perfect human, none of us are, but wow, did he have an excellent spirit. So that's going to be great. And I know you loved Esther last week. Esther, amazing. But our verse is not super long this time. So you can kind of see David here. And the verse is 1 Samuel 18:14. It says, and David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Now, wisely. I always like to make sure you know what the words mean. That doesn't mean you're smart. Smart people could be wise. Wise people could be smart. But wise means you have godly knowledge and you live your life in a godly way. Not just smart, say, I got straight A's in school, I'm wise. Nah, and you're not an owl either. But just know that David lived his life in a godly manner. He behaved himself godly. And so that's what wisely. You can't be wise if you don't have God. You got to have God to be wise. So I just want to make sure you got that one. Here we go. Say it with me. I want you, I'm not going to do it because I don't know that I can be seen. I want you to squat down in a squat like that. And I don't know if some of you might do it at gym class. So squat down in a squat. Stay down there. It's good for you. Let's see if we can do it together. Here we go. 1 Samuel 18:14. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. 1 Samuel 18:14. Oh, get up. I know your legs are hurting. You might hurt a little bit more tomorrow if you stay down the whole time. Okay, now I want you to get a big, loud voice in this one. Here we go. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. 1 Samuel 18:14. Now, one last time, because I got to spend some extra time with our Bible, with our missionary story, so we're going to do it one more time. But this is what I want. I want a regular voice, except for wisely and Lord. These 2 words, wisely and Lord, I want you to get really loud. See if the neighbors can hear you. Excuse me. So here we go. Ready? 1 Samuel 18:14. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. 1 Samuel 18:14. And I hope you guys remember that verse. I hope you think about it when you say, oh, am I acting in a wise manner, a godly manner, or am I acting not so? So I hope you enjoy that. Brother Copeland's got a couple more announcements, and I'm going to go get our missionary story.
Very good, boys and girls. David behaved himself wisely, and that also meant that he had to have an excellent spirit to be wise in the things of God. And we're looking forward to the story today. Looking forward to the missionary story as well. I'm very excited about that. I can't wait to see what happens to Lee Wee. And Mrs. Gloria gave me kind of a, one of those little phrases that kind of almost spoils things for you. A spoiler, that's what it's called. She didn't tell me all that it was, but she did tell me that the story didn't end the way she thought it would. So I'm excited about finding out what's going to happen to Lee Wee and little Kim and find out just exactly what the Lord did in that story. So Mrs. Hughes is going to come back now and tell us our missionary story.
Oh, wow. I love telling missionary stories, and it's always sad to me when I come to the end because, like a good book, you want it to keep going and going and going. But today, we're going to do just a tiny bit of review because I need more time. But I need you to remember that I kind of left you that Lee Wee was in the children's home, the Christian children's home in Vietnam. And the missionary had come, the light-haired, light-eyed, but she had her friend. Do you remember her? This friend right here? Her name just totally went right out the back door for me. I am so sorry. Her name is, Kohai. I'm sorry, my brain. I totally forgot Kohai's name. And Kohai was working with him and telling him about the true God and that Jesus died on the cross and rose again and wanted to give Lee Wee and everybody in the world true salvation. And Lee Wee, holy cow, he didn't like that, remember? And he went and he picked up his sister Kim and he grabbed his Buddha God and he ran out the door. Oh, and I know Kohai was so sad. She was so sad, and he ran out because he just thought, what am I going to do? I can't have this. I can't have this other foreign God. No way can I have a foreign God. So for a couple of weeks, Lee Wee and Kim lived on the streets. And Lee Wee, especially at first, had to be careful because remember, they had new clothes and they had to be very careful because he knew that if some of the bad guys saw that they had good clothes, they'd rip their clothes off of them and steal them and maybe hurt them really bad. And there was no place for them to go. Remember, their dad had been killed by the communists and they'd kidnapped their mom. He didn't have any adults and they lived on the streets. And he would look in the garbage cans and in the dump and he would try to find food. And every day, as he would pick Kim up after they'd slept maybe in a doorway or out in the country, every day he would see that she was skinnier and there was less food and her cry was so weak. He said, I have to save her. I have to help her. I have to. She's gonna die and I'm the only one that she has. There's nobody else. There's nobody else for me. And he was so sad and he was thinking maybe I could take her back to the children's home. But no, I can't because Buddha would be so mad at us. And he thought, Buddha, our God, he's not doing anything for us. He's ignoring, there's nothing he's doing. You know why he wasn't doing anything for them? Because he's not a true God. He's just a piece of stone or just a figment of someone's imagination. So he can't do anything. But all of a sudden he heard, Lee Wee, Kim, I've been looking everywhere for you. I'm trying to find you. And this was Kohai. Why did you leave? Why did you run away from us? We love you. And Kohai had, for a couple of weeks, she had been out looking everywhere for them. She said, please tell me. And she hugged him. And Lee Wee leaned against her and he felt like, oh, this feels like when my mom would hug me. This feels like when my mom was near me and I so miss my mom. And he just laid his head and Kim, Kim was excited because she loved Kohai too. And so she said, but Lee, please tell me why you left. He said, well, I can't. You talk about this foreign God who loves me, but I can't because Buddha will be mad. And then you have that magic book that does magic, and then that fair-haired lady, she might take Kim's eyes, and we gotta, no. And she hugged him tighter. And she said, oh, Lee Wee, she said, this is not a magic book. The Bible is God's word. There's no magic in this. These are the words of the true God who loves you so much. And he said, will you please come back to the orphanage? And Lee Wee thought, if I don't Kim's going to die. I can't. And so he said, okay, she can come back and I'll come back. But Kohai said, touch the Bible for me. Touch it. And he was so afraid. Oh no, he wouldn't touch it. She said, touch it. It's not magic. It's not going to harm you. There's nothing that's going to hurt you in this book. And he put his hand out. And nothing happened. He didn't get struck by lightning. Nothing bad happened. So he went back. They went back to the orphanage. And Kohai, she let them, and the missionary lady, let them stay in their private room again. And Kohai took care of them because they knew that they were still afraid. Boy, sometimes people tell us lies and we believe lies. And wow, he had certainly believed that lie. But one day, the fair-haired missionary lady came in. And she sat on the floor and she didn't touch anybody. She just started talking. And she looked at Liwi and she said, can I hold Kim? She wants to come to me. Oh, and it took a lot of bravery, but Liwi said yes. And Kim went right up, and you could tell, wow, Kim loved her. She cuddled right up next to her. And Liwi started to think, wow, this isn't a bad lady. She must be really good. And he stayed at the Christian children's home. And he started listening. And he learned more about his sin. And he learned more about Jesus, who came from heaven to die on the cross for sin. And you know what? Jesus didn't just come to die for Liwi's sin or for Miss Hughes's sin or for Brother Copeland or Pastor. He came to die for your sin too. And he rose from the dead the third day. And he gives us a clean heart. And guess what? Then Liwi heard about heaven. He heard about this wonderful place called heaven. Do you remember at the beginning when we did the wordless book? That's exactly what this is. He learned that story, but it wasn't just a story, it's truth. And Liwi got saved. Liwi accepted the true God into his heart, and he did away with the Buddha God, and he grew, and he was learning, and he learned how to work, because in the Christian children's home, they were teaching him all those things, and he learned was learning the Bible and staying clean, and they got clothes and plenty of food. And wow, even Kim was getting a little bit pudgy for a little toddler. Have you seen little pudgy toddlers? Oh, and they were loving life. Oh no. And then something terrible happened, and they could hear it. Remember the communist who had killed his dad, took his mom, and had been taking over the villages? They were very, very close to the city. Oh my goodness, they could hear the bombs around the city. Liwi's whole life, that's kind of what he lived with, the bombs and the bad guys. And Liwi, he was like, what are we going to do? And they had learned, though, that the missionary lady in Kohai every day would bring all the big kids and they would pray. And he learned to trust God. He learned to trust that God was going to take care of them. And one day, the missionary lady came with Kohai and said, Liwi, can we talk? She said, you can hear the communists are coming, and God has answered our prayer that the little ones are going to be able to go get on a plane and go back to my country. And they're going to get to live in my country in peace and not to live in this war and everything. And Liwi, I don't know, he's thinking. He said, well, do I get to go? And she said, no. She said, I can't let you go. I said, it's not me. She said, the government isn't letting any boys your age go. We would love for you to go, but you're too old, they're not letting you go. But the little ones can go, and my sister lives in a beautiful home in my country, and she wants to take Kim, and she wants to raise Kim in a happy home. And can I let Kim go? And we said, no, I can't let her go. It's my job to keep her safe. I was supposed to keep her. My dad's dead. My mom's gone. It's my job. And he ran out the door. And he was running from the whole city. And he ran and he ran. How many of you run when you're scared or you're mad? And he's in his head and he's running so hard. And he runs through the city. And he runs. And finally he collapses on the ground. And he says, I can't. But then he starts talking to his new Father in heaven, to God. And God says, it's okay. In his heart, he said, it's okay. I'll take care of Kim. It's okay that I can take care of him. So he slowly walks back through the city. And he goes back into the Christian children's home, and he lays on his mat. And he knows that it's okay. And so the next morning, he tells the missionary lady, and he tells Kohai that she can go. And it comes the day for all the little ones to go get on the plane. And Leewee gets to go to the airport to put them on the plane. They put him on the plane, but then he turns and walks away because he can't watch the plane take off. He has to trust God with Kim. And he's a new Christian. It's new for him. But he's trusting God, and he goes back to the orphanage. And next week, it's not going to end like you think it's going to end. It's going to be amazing. So come back next week. I'd really like for some of you to make sure you're looking up, see where Vietnam is, see how they might have taken their plane across for Kim to, I don't know what city she's come to, it didn't tell me, but I'd like you to see that how they might have traveled and come back. But next week, come back, because it's not going to end like you think it does.
Wow, boys and girls, I don't know about you, but that had to be hard, I imagine, for Leewee to let his sister leave his country and him not be able to go with her. And we'll find out what happens next week, won't we? And once again, just remember that we have this video and one more next week, and then we will be finished with our Children's Club videos. And just been exciting to be with you and go through the Bible stories and find out how many people in the Bible had an excellent spirit. I think if we really study it, there's a whole lot more that had an excellent spirit than there were that didn't have an excellent spirit. That's not to say that there were not some that didn't have an excellent spirit. Ahab, he didn't have a very good spirit. Jezebel sure didn't have a very good spirit. And the Roman soldiers and some of those people and some of the things that they did to our forefathers and our heroes from the Bible, they didn't have very good spirits. But we can have an excellent spirit because we have the Holy Spirit that lives inside us and helps us. So boys and girls, I hope you're still working on that. And today we're going to tell a little bit of the story about David. David, as you know, was a young boy when he was chosen to be the next king. And he was chosen king because of his excellent spirit. And Saul was rejected because he didn't have a good spirit. And then we know that David went on and he fought against a giant Philistine. What was his name? Oh, Goliath. He was a big old fella, almost 10 feet tall. You'd have liked to have had him on your basketball team. But anyway, so David has went out now and he gathered up the stones like we sang about earlier, 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and he put them in his pastor's script, and he got his sling and he went out to fight the giant. And we know the end of that story. That stone went up in the air and the giant came tumbling down. And David won that victory. No, David didn't win the victory. God won the victory. And David made sure that everybody knew that the glory belonged to God. He wanted everybody to know that it was God's battle, not his. And so now we come to chapter 18. And David is still continuing on. He's called before Saul. And he goes in and he talks to Saul. And Saul liked David at first. And he wanted David to be in his house. He wanted David to play his harp. And anytime Saul got a bad spirit, David would play music for him. Maybe even sing some of the Psalms that he had written. And it would calm down Saul's spirit. But it didn't always help Saul. And we find out here in this part of our story, let's read a few of these verses here. In 1 Samuel 18, we'll start in verse number 5. Jonathan and David had become friends. Saul had talked to David. And then verse number 5 says, and David went out whithersoever Saul sent him and behaved himself wisely. There's another place right there in the same chapter that says the same thing that our memory verse does. And Saul sent him over the men of war. Now remember, boys and girls, David was still a young man himself, just a teenage boy. And Saul was so impressed with him that Saul set him over all the men of war. Wow. Can you imagine maybe what it would have felt like to be a grown man and have a teenage boy be your captain? I bet that made some folks have some bad spirits, but not David. And it says that David behaved himself wisely and went out wherever Saul sent him. And let's see, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people. Wow, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. See, David had such a good spirit, such a good attitude, that even though Saul turned against him, David continued to have that excellent spirit. Wow. Well, let's go on with the story here, boys and girls. Verse number 6, and it came to pass as they came. See, now the battle is over. Saul has talked to David. David, if you go back up to verses 1 through 4, you find, or in chapter 17, the last few verses, you find that when David was brought before Saul, that he came in and had the giant's head in his hand. Ooh, wow. See, remember when David defeated Goliath, he went out to him and took Goliath's own sword and chopped his head off and held it up, and that made all the Philistines flee. Well, David brought that head to Saul, and that was what was impressive to Saul. But then we go on down, and when they were coming back into town, see, I want you to notice here, boys and girls, see the ladies in our story? When we're reading through the scripture, it says that the ladies began to sing a song. Yeah, there was singing and praising and worshiping of God for the victory that was wrought through David. And as they come into town, all the warriors and David comes into town, and Saul is in the town as well. And as they're coming through town, the ladies started singing. I don't know how the song went, but the words were something like this: Saul has slain his thousands, but David his 10,000s. And man, they celebrated the victory, because remember when David killed Goliath, he also said that he was going after the Philistines, and he went out and wrought a wonderful victory against the Philistine army. Remember, boys and girls, it wasn't David that won that battle, because David knew the battle was the Lord's. See, that was one of the things about David's spirit. He always knew that it wasn't him, but it was God that got the glory for the things that he did. See, sometimes, boys and girls, we do something and somebody says, man, you did a great job. And we say, I sure did. David never had that kind of spirit. David always had the spirit of the glory belongs to God. That's part of a good spirit, making sure that we always glorify and honor God in the things that we do, instead of being proud and boastful and talking about how I did this or I did that. Wow. Let's get back to the story. And so the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. How do you think that made Saul feel? Saul was the what? Yeah, he was the king. David, what was he? He's just some little shepherd boy. He just, he just came out and threw a rock and killed a 10-foot tall dude. And then he went out and slew a bunch of Philistines. Yeah, he's just a little shepherd boy. See, remember when Saul had David come in, the first thing he asked him was, whose son are you anyway? And David said, well, my father's your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. He came from a very humble home, and he was just a shepherd boy. Remember when he was chosen to be king, they had to bring him in out of the fields because he was out taking care of his father's sheep? See, David wasn't proud and boastful. David always knew that the glory belonged to God. And boys and girls, that's part of having an excellent spirit, making sure that we give the glory to who the glory belongs to. If we are able to do something, it's God that gave us the ability to do that. And so we should honor and glorify God in all that we do, because if it wasn't for God, we couldn't talk, we couldn't walk, we couldn't breathe, our heart wouldn't beat. We wouldn't have anything that we have if it wasn't for God blessing us. And so let's remember to keep an excellent spirit. What kind of spirit did Saul have? Not very good. The next verse tells us that Saul was very wroth. That means he was mad. As my mama used to say, He's mad as an old wet hen. I have no idea what that means, but that's what my mama used to say. And so Saul, he was mad. And he was so mad that now he decided that this boy that he's put over the men of war, he doesn't like him so well. And so what did Saul try to do? Saul chucked a spear at David the next time he saw him. He was trying to kill him because his spirit was so bad, because David was getting some glory, if you want to say, some recognition for accomplishing something. And he was such a prideful man. Remember, the reason that Saul was rejected was because of his pride. He decided he would do this and he would do that, and I this and I that. As a matter of fact, there was 7 things, if you study the life of Saul. He said 7 eyes, and we won't go into that. He didn't have 7 eyes. He would have looked awful funny with 7 eyes. But anyway, David kept an excellent spirit. David, even though Saul tried to kill him, the next time Saul called for him to come sing for him, what do you think he did? He went and sang for him. The next time Saul sent him out to a battle, guess what he did? He went out to the battle. And boys and girls, he won favor with God, and he won favor with the other men in the military there, all the servants of Saul, and he won favor among all the people of Israel. See, David was just a shepherd boy, a teenager now, in this battle, this stuff that's going on, but because he had an excellent spirit, God chose him to be the next king of Israel. Wow. Boys and girls, I don't know about you. I'm not saying that I want to be a king, but I sure would like to please my Lord. And whatever he decides to do with me or for me or through me, then he gets the honor and glory for it. And see, if we're ever going to do anything for God, we have to get over ourselves. The middle letter of pride is I. The middle letter of sin is I. The devil said, I will ascend above the throne of God. I will sit on the throne of God. I'll be on the high. And guess where he wound up at? Tossed out of heaven. You know, Saul had the same eye problem. Guess what happened to him? Got tossed out of being the king. But David was chosen because he had an excellent spirit. As a matter of fact, that didn't make David perfect. David still did some things that he should not have done, did a lot of things he shouldn't have done. But David always recognized when he did sin, he repented of that sin. Even one day, a prophet came in and asked him about something that he had done, and he told him a story about a man having lots of sheep and his neighbor just having one, and this man had a friend come in, and he went over and stole the neighbor's sheep and gave it to his friend, and Nathan asked him, what would you do about that, king? And David got upset. Well, he'll have to repay, and he'll have to do 4 times this, and he'll have to do that, and he'll have to do something else. And old Nathan the prophet stood right up to King David, put his finger right in his face and said, you're the man. What David could have done as the king was taking care of that prophet. He could have taken him out. No one would have ever known. But what did David do? David repented of his sin. Why? Because even when David did wrong, David still had an excellent spirit, boys and girls. See, sometimes we get into trouble because of something we do. Mom and Dad get on to us, or maybe a teacher, and we get all defensive. Well, I didn't do that, or you don't know what so-and-so did. And David never did that because David had an excellent spirit. Boys and girls, we've heard a lot about excellent spirits here in these last few weeks. Daniel and Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. I got their names right. Esther. Lots of people. We could go all through the Bible. Elijah. And we could find those that have an excellent spirit. Well, you go all through the Bible and find those that didn't have an excellent spirit. As a matter of fact, you're the one that chooses whether you have an excellent spirit or not. It's not up to your mom, not up to your dad, not up to your brother and sister. It's up to you. David chose to have an excellent spirit. Even though Saul chucked spears at him more than one time, As a matter of fact, it was so bad that Saul's son Jonathan had to kind of be a go-between between David and his father, because he knew that his father hated David and wanted him dead. But Jonathan protected him. Jonathan had a pretty good spirit too. Maybe we'll talk about that later. But Jonathan should have been the next king, because usually the king's son became the next king. But Jonathan wasn't going to be king because God had rejected his father and gave the kingdom to David and his family. Jonathan could have had a bad spirit, but he didn't. David could have had a bad spirit. The king trying to kill him every time he turned around. Sent the soldiers after him, searched him out, made him leave his country. David even went and dwelt with the Philistines for a while because Saul had such a bad spirit. But you never find David with a bad spirit. As a matter of fact, David's spirit was so good, boys and girls, that God said that David was a man after his own heart. Wow. That's pretty amazing. I want that spirit. I want you to have that spirit. But guess who decides what kind of spirit I have? Guess who decides what kind of spirit you have? See, most of the time we try to let other people influence our spirit. I'm sure glad David didn't do that. Saul hated him, but David kept an excellent spirit. Saul tried to kill him, but David kept an excellent spirit. Saul sent the soldiers after him, but David kept an excellent spirit. You know what, boys and girls? It doesn't matter what other people are doing, and they may be even trying to harm you, but you decide if you're going to have a good spirit. So, boys and girls, let's be like David, and let's have an excellent spirit. Even though others are trying to tear us down, let's maintain an excellent spirit. It's been good to be with you again. Looking forward to next week, but looking forward to see some of you in person here in just a little while. Love you guys. See you soon.